In this tutorial we'll learn how to create this countdown timer component. I have created a Next.js project using TypeScript and opened it in VS Code. For this project I have only installed Sass in dev dependencies. The project is running on localhost and this is how it looks. First I'll clean the project. I'll remove most of the code in global.css. And then clean page.tsx file. Remove this image import. Open page.module.css file. And remove all this code except for the main class. This is how it looks now. Now in the source folder, create components folder. Here create a folder countdown timer. This folder will have two files. index.tsx and countdowntimer.module.scss. Open index file and create a React component. And then add this component in page.tsx file like this. Make sure to import it. And now we can see it here. Open index file for the timer and add use client directive to make it a client-side component. Now import the styles from countdown timer module file. First I'll create some UI so it's easier to understand and see what is going on. Then we'll write the logic for timer and then update the UI as per our needs. So let's first create interface for props. It will have a deadline of type date and a title of type string. Add this interface here. And then destruct these values. Now from page.tsx we need to pass these two props. For deadline I'll create a const countdown date equals to new date. Here provide the date. Also pass the title in props. Now open index.tsx for countdown timer. Pass class name to this div. Styles.container. I'll add this container class in SCSS file and add the styles in a moment. First create h2 tag inside this div with class styles.title. Here we pass the title coming in props. Let's add some background color to the container class. This is how it looks. Now I'll give this container a width of 100%. Display grid. Place items center. Vertical padding of 1.2 rem and horizontally 0. Now add class for title. Here I'm using the clamp function to set a responsive font size. First parameter of the clamp is minimum font. No matter how small screen size is, here minimum font size will be 1.3 rem. You can set any value you choose. And second parameter is ideal font size. In this case it'll be 2.3% of the screen width. And last parameter is the max font size. In index file under the title add a div time wrapper. Inside wrapper we add a div with class of styles.timeContainer. This container will have p tag with class styles.value. Here I'll pass a hard-coded value for now. Then add a p tag for unit with class name of styles.unit. Now I'll copy the time container and paste it few times changing the values. This is how it looks now. Let's add the style for time wrapper. Width 80%. Margin auto. To align them in a row, we apply the display flex property. Justify content center. Margin top 0.5 rem. Now add class for time container. Here give text align center. For value class vertical margin 0 and horizontal 4 pixels so that each value has some space between them. And add padding of 0.5 rem. For unit class provide text transform, capitalize. And some font size. And margin top of 5 pixels. As we have made some UI, we can start to write our logic. In order to do that, we'll calculate the difference of deadline from current time and then format time difference. Open index file of the countdown timer component. Create an interface countdown time left. It will have optional days of type number. Optional hours of type number. Optional minutes, which will also be number. Then finally seconds, also optional and number. Now we'll write a function calculate time left. And it will return an object of type countdown time left. I have made a spelling mistake in the interface above, so I'll fix it first. Now inside the function, create an empty object of type countdown time left. And return it. Now we need to calculate the difference. Let current date equals to new date. Difference equals to deadline.getTime minus current date.getTime. This will give time difference in milliseconds. Here deadline is coming in props. If difference is greater than 0, we update the time left variable. For calculating days, we start with our total time difference, which is in milliseconds. We then divide this by the number of milliseconds in a day. And to do that, we multiply 1000, the number of milliseconds in a second, by 60, the number of seconds in a minute, multiplied by 60, the number of minutes in an hour. And finally by 24, the number of hours in a day. This gives us the total milliseconds in a day. Now use math.floor to round down to the nearest whole number, because we want full days, not fractions of a day. For calculating hours, we start with our total time difference. We then divide this by the number of milliseconds in an hour. And to find that, we multiply 1000, the number of milliseconds in a second, by 60, the number of seconds in a minute. And then again by 60, the number of minutes in an hour. After that, we take the modulus of this entire thing with 24. The modulus operation gives us the remainder. So it's a way to get the number of hours in a single day. Then finally we take floor of this entire thing to make it a round number. Similarly for minutes, we divide difference, which is in milliseconds, by 1000 to convert it to seconds. And then dividing by 60 to convert it to minutes. Then take mod with 60 to get the remaining minutes. So it's a way to get the number of minutes in a single hour. Then take floor of entire thing. Finally, for seconds, we divide by 1000, which is the number of milliseconds in a second. And then use mod 60 to get the remaining seconds in a single minute. And then take the floor. Now create a state time left of type countdown time left. To give an initial value to this state, I'll create a constant here. Const initial time left, which is an object with days, hours, minutes, and seconds all initially set to 0. Pass initial state here. Now write a use effect with empty dependency array. Inside the use effect, set the time left state by calling our calculate time function. Then we set up an interval. On each interval, update the state with the new calculated time left. Pass 1000 here so this interval runs every second. Then on the cleanup function of use effect, we clear the interval, effectively stopping the timer. Please note that if we don't set the state outside of the interval here, there will be a delay in the initial rendering of time. Now let's use this state to display the time. Here we can add timeleft.days instead of out hard-coded value. And instead of repeating time container div, we can render it in a loop. So I'll remove all of these except one. And here to loop through an object we do object.entries. And pass our state object to it like this. Then map through each entry. Move this div and paste it inside the map like this. In the parameters of map we destruct unit and value. And here we pass the value. Here pass the unit. Finally to the parent div pass a unique key. Now if we look at our timer, you can see that it is working. Let's add some background color with linear gradient to the time value. In value class add the background property. This is how it looks now. In order to show the time like this we need to separate the number in digits. Open index file of our component. Copy the value p tag and paste it here. For first digit if we divide by 10 we get the each value with decimal point. So we need to do math.floor. And to get the second digit we use the modulus operator. Now we need to align them in a row. Create a div with class name styles.valueContainer. Move these two tags inside it. In the SCSS file, create valueContainer class. Display flex. Align items, center. And give some font size. This is how it looks now. Now I'll add some styles to the value class. Width 2.1 rem. And to align digits in center. Display flex. Justify content center. Font weight 500. Border radius 5 pixels. Now we need to add the separators. Open index.tsx file. In map parameters, get index and the actual array. Now inside the value container we check if index is not equal to the array.length -1. Then we add a span here. We are adding this check because we don't want to show this span after the last box, in this case the seconds value. Now to remove this padding, I'll open page.module.css file. And remove padding here. This is how it looks now. If I reduce size of the browser window, our timer adjusts its size accordingly. Now if I open page.tsx and change the deadline date to a past date. Time is not shown, but I want to check if date is in the past, then don't render the entire component. To do that, I'll create a helper.ts file in the source folder. As this is a small project, I'm just creating a file here, but if your project is large you can manage helpers accordingly. From the helper file, export function is date in past. That takes date of type date in param. And returns boolean. Const now equals to new date. Return date.getTime less than now.getTime. If date is in the past it will return true. Now in page file I'll add a check. If date is not in the past only, then show the timer. Here pass the countdown date. The timer is not rendered now. If I change the date it will be shown. Please note that if your days have more than 2 digits it will not work as expected. Mostly discounts don't last that long, so I haven't added that check. But if you want you can also handle 3 digits as a challenge. And as this date is not taken in user input, my assumption is that it will have a correct format. If you want, you can validate the date as a task. Now I'll change the background color of container in countdown timer module.scss file to add some contrast. With this, our timer component is complete. Please support my channel, hit the like button and subscribe. If you want to see how I made this hero section, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any notification, as I'll upload that video soon.